Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight, and my guest tonight is Anna Clary. How's it going, Anna?
It's going good. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. This has to sound like a big deal to you. You star in the Mutilator 2, which is the sequel from the original film that happened 35 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. Honestly, like from being told, "Hey, we want you to be in this," to like now just even seeing the fan reactions to the trailer, it's a consistent state of disbelief that I even got put in something like that, because I'm sure there's plenty of other like horror fans that also are performers like I am that would have rolled over in their own grave just to be a part of it. So it's pretty cool to have even been entrusted to take on one of the roles in that film, and I'm so beyond excited. Like, I fangirl over it all the time, but like I'm so excited to see the final like full film. You should have seen me the day the trailer dropped, because we knew something was coming, but I didn't know the trailer was about to drop for sure. I was hoping when they did the post on, "Oh, something's coming, keep your eye out," I was like, "Oh, please let it be." I was shrieking like a banshee on and off all day. I probably drove my family a little bit crazy, because I was like calling everyone, "Did you see it? Have you seen it yet?" But yeah, it was and is a huge honor to have been a part of.
I know you had a great time on there. What was it like working with two of the original actors from the film?
Oh, that is super cool. And I love how they incorporated them, the meta aspect, and obviously no spoilers here, but I'm so excited for everyone to see just how that works out, because I know there's been a whole thing of like, how is someone that's dead in the first one back, and that's another thing, just watching people's predictions based off of the trailer, which doesn't really tell the audience anything about it. That's been super cool, because as someone that's read the whole script and just like seeing what people think is going to happen, but right off the bat, both of them were incredibly sweet, down to earth, like humble people. My favorite story regarding them is about Bill. So the room I was staying in didn't have a microwave, and I'm staying there for like 2 weeks, and this just happened to be just a fluke thing. And I'm sure if I had said something, someone would have been like made sure it happened or whatever. But I'm not high maintenance, so I was like, it's fine. I can live without a microwave briefly. I'll figure it out. But I was talking to Bill, and he was like, "Oh, well, I've got a microwave back at home that I don't use. I'll bring it in for you." And I was like, "No, I had like, if I'm remembering, sorry about my sniffliness, still fighting off whatever this is, but he was, if I remember right, this is the first time I had met him. So it was a night shoot, and we were just sitting. I was chatting with a couple different people, and one, I was like, "Oh my God, this is like someone from the original. This is pretty cool." Like putting face to face, and he's such a sweet guy. And I was like, "No," and I don't want to put anyone out of the way. So I'm like, no, don't worry about that. Like, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Don't. And he's like, "No, I mean, you're here for a little bit. I'll bring it in, and then when you're done, I'll get it back, and it's fine." And I was like, "No, don't worry about it." He was like, "Okay, fine." And I can't remember. I think it was like the next day, or I can't remember who had messaged me, but was like, "Oh, Bill's got a microwave here for you. Can you come get it?" And so yeah, he, even when I insisted, no, please don't worry about it. I'm fine. You don't have to do it. And he didn't know me. Like, he's just a really stand-up guy, and so is Ruthie. I didn't chat with her as long as I had with Bill. I talked to Bill a little bit more. But when I met her again, like, just so sweet and so humble. They're adorable, like, together, honestly. Like, I feel like that friendship, I mean, I could be wrong, but, like, from what I can tell, that friendship, like, really, like, is still, like, the charm between them on set was still there. But yeah, they're the sweetest of humans. And when I told because I called my family, like, every night. And when I told them about, like, the microwave thing, I was like, I almost cried. It was so sweet and, like, generous of him to go out of his way. So that's, like, one of my favorite stories of just, like, like, acting or performance-based stuff. Just someone being super kind and a stand-up human being.
What about the beach house? How'd you feel to be around the famous beach house?
So that was really cool to just be able to, like, stare at. And one thing I still, like, am kicking myself about. I'm so sorry for the sniffling.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm still kicking myself about is I kept saying I'm gonna go take a picture in front of this beach house. Like, so I took so many pictures, and most of which I can't, like, ever share. But I'm super excited that I have them. And I just, like, it. With everything going on, it, like, slipped my mind. I never did it before I left. But from my room at the Oceana, I had, like, a smack, like, I could just sit outside of my room and stare right at it. I could see it, like, right from my window in my room. So that was pretty cool, and it was pretty cool to, like, be right at the, like, location of the other one. And I don't know, it's kind of, like, almost, like, nostalgia feeling, like, to have, even though I've never been there before. And, like, I'm sure it was way more nostalgic for Bill and everyone, like, Buddy, and, like, everyone that had already been there, done that. But, like, there's definitely, like, something about it that's, where, obviously I did my homework. I watched the first one. I've seen it twice, 3 times now, 2.5, something like that. I'll definitely be marathoning it back to back with the new one when it comes out. But I don't know. It just added to, like, that feeling of, I can't believe that I get to be here and I get to be doing this. The gratitude is unreal. And, I think this is something that I'll definitely, like, look back on as sort of a catalyst for, me really feeling like I've, got a shot. Like, everyone that is in any form of anything artistic, really, like, dancer, actor, writer, there's always, you get those moments where you're like, I'm never gonna get where I want to get with this. You get down on yourself. I think everyone has those moments, even outside of the performance realm, just in day-to-day life. It's human nature to get down on yourself and feel like you can't achieve what you want, or feel like you have this unattainable dream. And that was when I got cast in that. That was kind of a big moment for me, where I felt like I really, really could, give my all and go for this, which is what I've been doing. So, not only was it an honor to be a part of, but it's one of those things where it really kind of changed my perspective as an artist and, just as a person living my own life. Really kind of almost gave me hope, which I'm extremely grateful for.
So, what was it like to work with Buddy Cooper? How cool was he?
Oh, he's so rad. Him and Jeff.
Jeff Seaman, yeah.
Yeah. We're just outstanding to work with. And, you know, but it was really, really, really cool in that, you know, obviously, you know, he's written it, he's got this vision. But there was one moment where, you know, me and a couple other people, and actually I didn't come up with any of it. I just happened to be in the scene, and they were like, we reworked it. We think we want to present, you know, this kind of idea, just like keeping all the dialogue, like just like the smallest little, just funny idea they came up with, and I loved it. It was super cool. I was like, I'm all in. And we presented it to Buddy, and he was like, this is great, and he let us do it, which is a really cool thing, because he, you know, he's basically the big boss man for that. He could have easily been like, no, you know, this is the original vision, this is where it's going to be. But it's always super cool when someone that, you know, is technically above you, quote, quote, really takes the time to like listen and say, oh my God, this is going to make it so much more interesting. But he really is a stand-up guy. He was super sweet to me every time I interacted with him. Since then, he's been super supportive outside of being on that set. There's been a couple times where he's reached out regarding some of the sort of like crowdfunding for different pretty cool projects that I've been in, and he's been like, this is really cool, and like through me asked to like get in touch with the creator so that you know, he can contribute to other people's indie horror films, which is like a super cool thing. And then it's also super cool for the other people on set to like have Buddy Cooper be like, hey, I want to support you. So even like half a year later, having him reach out and be like, hey, you know, I'd like to do this thing for somebody else was just like, what? But there was another moment where, and you know, I can't give.
You can't give any detail, no spoilers. I gotcha.
Yeah, you know, and this is the first time in my life where, and I'm not good at secrets. I really am not, or I'm good at like personal secrets, but like when it comes to like, I'm the worst person to be watching a show with at a slightly different points, because when I'm excited about something, I gotta get it off my chest. So this is just kind of a living hell in the best way, of course. But I got to keep a fall break, an original fall break shirt, which is what it was originally going to be called. And it was super cool because it was from Buddy's own, like, from my understanding, he had brought them in. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I was like, I love this shirt. And there's like a head on a spike on the shirt. And I was like, this is rad. I love it. And the customer took me over and was like, hey, she wants to keep this shirt. And he was like, yeah. Like super nice about it. And I wear that shirt like weekly now. If I can't wear it out, like if I have to be dressed nice all week, I'll like sleep in it. It's like one of my favorite t-shirts, sentimentally, and it's just a dope shirt. And they did like cool hats and stuff. I wear that hat religiously as well. But it's super cool, down to earth as well. But you know you're working with someone that's like created something super legendary in like the cult horror world. So it's one of those things where like he's such a friendly guy, but you're also just standing there like, oh my God, I'm right here.
That's pretty awesome. So in the film, you play Liz. Can you tell me a little bit about Liz?
So Liz, her design, she's the script supervisor in a film within a film. And it's really a lighthearted, sort of fun character. I can't really give details I want to give, unfortunately. But I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got a charming, like, bubbly, light feel to it. It really kind of fit. I'm a huge slasher fan. And I love those characters where it's just like, you know, you just know there's something coming for them. And Buddy did a great job of kind of creating so many of those characters in the sequel. Like, you really don't know who's coming for who or when, because so many of the characters like have that kind of like some form of the slasher trope for different characters, which I really enjoyed. You know, when I was first reading the script, I was like, oh, this person, like, before you know anything, like right off the bat in the beginning, like there's so many times where you're like, you know, you write somebody off and you never really know, because you follow that. Anyone that watches slashers, like, as soon as someone fits a certain character trope, you think you know where their character is going, or, you know, if they're going to make it or if they're not going to make it. And I really enjoy when there's so many characters in a film that fit a certain trope that make you think something. It makes you feel like you're completely wrong the whole time, which is just a charming little aspect. But regarding Liz, I really liked that it was just kind of a light, you know, girly character, and I think the costumer did a really great job of the outfit I'm in for most of the time is, you know, really like kind of like does lead towards that, you know, a little risque, because, you know, that 80s female character, you know, but not like overly so. And it's a really like lighthearted, playful sort of outfit, which I think kind of really adds to the character. And you see this very lighthearted, playful bit from her with a couple of other characters later on in the film. So it was just really nice, because I've done a lot of not so much bubbly playful characters. You know, I've done some that are like more cynical and sarcastic, which I'm sarcastic in my normal life, so that's fine. But, you know, it's fun to get to be the sweet one sometimes, whether or not that's, you know, most people's preference. But I like to do a little sweet and a little sassy, so it's fun to bounce around between them.
That's pretty cool. I also liked when I watched your trailer. I loved the scene where you were in it. You were staring straight at the killer. It was like an Old West showdown. You're looking at the killer, and the killer's like coming for you. You know, it's like, I'm like, oh, this is intense, man. I want to see more of it. But I like how Buddy kind of puts this little tease in the trailer, because you really don't know what's really all about. He just puts little snippets here, and you're trying to guess, just like, okay, what's gonna happen, you know? And like I said, I can't wait to see it. I'm on high suspense for that too.
Yeah, he did I mean, everyone that edited that together, they did a brilliant job of, you know, because you see a lot of little snippets of different people where you're like, oh, something's coming for them, but you never see anything more. And it does a great job of really like saying, like,
you're like this, you're like,
could be anyone. One of the really cool shots is of the Peter, who is playing Black in the film, as the lights are going off on the pier. I really loved the intensity of that. And Jeff, I had briefly had messaged with him, and he was saying that was one of his favorite parts, which I completely agree. Looks really cool. And, you know, of course, the iconic tide to the barnacles is something that I know a lot of people have focused on.
The barnacles,
so I'm really excited.
Yeah, the barnacles are freaky, and the actress who was rubbing on it looked like she had too much fun playing beach blanket bingo and lost, and then ended up getting stuck on the barnacles.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that little snippet. I mean, I'm biased completely, but especially like it was like when I saw that I mean, it's my, and I've been joking with everyone like it's only my back. But on that like little screen save before I turn around, but I saw that and I like, you know, I sounded like some sort of like banshee gremlin. I don't know what sound came out of me, but I was so excited just to see that. So obviously, like, that's my favorite part because I'm biased, of course. But I think, like I had said, they did an amazing job of throwing all these little snippets in that really keep you guessing. And it's been really fun. I've been going through comments randomly on like different places where it's been shared, and it's really fun to watch everyone say what they think is going to happen. There's been a couple people that have done full videos saying what they think the plot is going to be, and it's super fun to listen to them. It's also frustrating too, because you know you want to just be like yes or no, or you know, but it's everything, and the trailer just really does justice to the fact that the film is really gonna, you know, bring back everything that everyone loved from the first Mutilator, which is, you know, the blood and gore. It's what made the first one so popular, and I think it's really gonna, especially like now, you know, you can do even more with special effects, and Joe Castro did the effects for Mutilator 2, and he does some real gnarly work that I'm really excited for people to see. So I think, you know, if people really loved the blood and gore in the first one, they're going to be very pleased with how this one is going to turn out. It's only a matter of time. 2023, baby. I'm real excited.
All right, let's talk about some other stuff when you're not filming. You're really big into horror, which I know.
Yeah.
And you love zombies. So what got you into like infatuated with zombies?
Well, it kind of is tied in with, I think, my love of horror. It's almost like zombies. I'm not sure what exactly about zombies just makes me super happy. But it really is, you know, get me a good zombie movie, or even find me one that I haven't seen, and I'll be super thrilled. Because it's getting harder to find them. Not that I'm not happy rewatching all of my favorites. I love them. But there's something about the zombie film in general that I just love. I mean, slashers and zombie films are like my favorites. And the link between them is, what I love about a good slasher is you love to hate the characters. And I think that's half the fun, is when you're almost rooting for the killer at certain points. And I think the films that really nail it with characters is when you don't know if you love or hate the killer, because you don't want some people to die, but you want other people to die so fiercely, where it kind of like makes you torn inside. Do you want the killer to win, or do you not want the killer to win? So I think, you know, when there's a character that's just so like hated because they're a piece of shit. Sorry if I'm not supposed to swear.
Hey, here. You can say it. This is my show. You can say it. See, you know some fuck. Oops.
For shame, good sir. You never know. Everyone's different. I'm like a sailor in my day to day, so that's good. But yeah, like sometimes it's because they're just a piece of shit. Other times they're just so dumb. You're like, at this point, I can't help you. Like, you serve yourself on a platter to the knife or whatever is the object of murder in such film. But same thing goes for like zombie movies. Like, and I think it's a lot of fun to watch what people do differently, because it's a challenging genre. You can, like you've seen lately, you can do some new things with horror and slashers, and like there's been some new developments. Zombies is so straightforward, it's pretty hard to change. So when a new one comes out that like just has an element that's done so well, or they have an element that is so different that it's like, why did nobody think of this? It's just really cool to see how something that has such a straightforward undead eat people, what are you gonna do new? It's really cool to see when people find ways to do it new or just do it super well. Like Train to Busan, I am obsessed with that film. I've seen it so many times, and it, you know, it's nothing different about the zombies, nothing. But I think it was just done so phenomenally well that it like left me like so enamored and obsessed with it. So it's kind of that feeling of like, oh my God, they took this thing that everyone's done a million times and did something super well. And then occasionally they just completely change some rule in it. Sometimes it makes me mad. I remember, there was a film, and I just remember raging because the zombies could climb like well.
Oh, you must be talking about The Walking Dead, because they started getting zombies towards the final season. They were climbing up the house on the roofs. They were opening the doorknobs.
It wasn't a show, but I know what you're talking about. God, I cannot remember. But I do, yes. And I was like, this isn't fair. And I think half of it is because, you know, we all have our apocalypse plan in our head. At least those of us that are sane do. And I was like, climbing a tree is like half of like beginning of Walking Dead when they're running through the woods. I'm like, climb a damn tree. You know, so that's like one of my points where I'm always getting angry at the characters for not climbing trees. And then you come around with zombies that are climbing trees, and I was like, no. But it made me happy too. It's like one of those things where it was like a love-hate. I was like, well, there goes my plan, so I'm upset about it, but, you know,
hey, yeah, when that comes, you better hurry up and go to like the Home Depot or Lowe's and go get some weapons to go take out some zombies, just in case, you know, if the apocalypse comes, you know, you gotta get the smart stuff, man. So I can be all prepared.
I really do. I find it. I have my slippers that I have are two zombie heads. Like they even have little eyeballs hanging off on either side of the slippers. And like it's just like a little hole where you're like, it looks like the zombie's head is eating your foot. And that's how enamored I am. Like I'll wear these slippers that are eating my feet all the time. But it just makes me happy. Like I don't think there's other than like that one answer. Like outside of that, it just brings me joy. You know, I wish I had some deeper reason for loving it, but it just makes me super excited. And even some of the bad ones, because there are, I mean, like horror and, you know, any movie genre, there are some really bad movies out there. And even some of the bad zombie movies I still have fun with. There's...
Speaking of one,
really
did you... Okay, here's one for you. Speaking of one, This one was really B budgety. Have you ever saw Clay Zombies?
No, I don't know if I have.
My friend wrote it and directed it. Okay, this film, it's about this clay that's radioactive, and when you touch it, the humans turn into claymation zombies. So you're watching this film, and it shows these claymation zombies with claymation blood coming out, and you see the actors acting like they're shooting the clay zombie, the claymation, all that, and they're acting it out like they're getting attacked by these like Play-Doh clay zombies. You gotta check it out, Clay Zombies. It's wild. Yeah. It's on Tubi. You need to watch it. It is such a fun B flick. And I never seen a movie where had actors acting like they're being chased by zombies. Claymation.
Yeah, that's it. That's really an interesting two mediums to like have. And I mean, it must have been a really cool thing for the actors too, because I mean, you really straight up gotta pretend, which I mean is acting, of course. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And like some of those bad ones are, if anything, they're good for a good laugh.
Yeah.
One of the B-list ones, I mean, there's some of the effects are not the best, but it's a great movie, and I stand by it. It's called Cockneys versus Zombies.
I've seen that. I thought that was fun. I laughed through it, and the actors in it were like, they were in it, but they were acting too hard. You know, for, like the character, like it's like, okay, we know you don't need to act too hard. This character just flow naturally.
I just think they had like so many moments that were just like, I was like super like entertained, and like there are moments where I was laughing so hard. Like the sorry for a spoiler if anyone hasn't seen it that is listening to this, but the walker chase that they have in it, I love that scene so much, and every time, you know, I think of zombie movies, that's one of the scenes that comes to my brain immediately, because, you know, it's so dumb, but it's genius too. And there's no way like this person would have actually made it the distance and survived, but just the charm of, you know, someone woke up surrounded by zombies, and now, you know, they don't know there's zombies right behind them, and they're moving so slow in a walker, and everyone's screaming at them, and they like draw it out and make it like a car chase scene. It's a riot to me, and I think that's one of the points in the movie where I was like, yep, I love this movie now. Nobody can change my mind. You can tell me everything that's wrong with that movie, and I know the things that are wrong with that movie. And I don't care. I still love it. I will love it till the day I die.
All right. So where can everybody find you on social media so they know what you're doing next?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I keep everything the same. It's just Anna W. Clary for Instagram and Twitter. Don't really use my Twitter much because I don't have a following there, but if I do have one, I'll definitely start posting there more. But it's ANNAWCLARY. And then for booking, that's also just a generic email for anyone that potentially would like me to audition or inquire about having me in any of their films. Just the simple Anna W. Clary at Gmail. Or you can just message me on Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, definitely check out my pages. I don't post any spoilers because I'm a good girl, supposedly. But you can definitely see some of the fun things I post from work. I'll definitely be doing some more behind the scenes for some of the films coming up that I'll be shooting this year, like Grandma and The Woodman, both of which should be super duper fun. But yeah, check them out. I would love to see you all there, get acquainted.
Yeah, especially The Woodman. I'm looking forward to it because I like it. It's like a found footage film talking about where no man has gone deep in the woods. I mean, like far deep. See, I like stuff like that, you know, stuff like that where people go and they mysteriously disappear and you don't know what happened to them. So I'm looking forward to seeing The Woodsman. And then another film I'm looking forward to seeing you in is by Josh Graves. He does a lot of great films, and I'm looking forward to seeing Late Checkout because whatever.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so whatever Josh Graves does, I know he'll probably be listening to this. His stuff is golden, and I'll watch anything he does, and I'm also looking forward to his other film, Hooker with a Shotgun, too.
Yeah, no, and, I will say this to anyone, listening out there, his sets are phenomenal. It was such a great environment to be on. His script was great. It was also, Molly gets credit to that as well. But everyone, it was literally the dream team that was working on Late Checkout. And I kind of got added into the mix last minute on that one. But everyone was super welcoming, super sweet. It's one I, again, lost my mind for the trailer. I still watch it randomly, which I'll probably do with both trailers. I'll be like, I just want to see this again, rehype myself. But it's got a collection of phenomenal actors and actresses, but everyone that was working behind the scenes as well really, really, really knows what they're doing. And, much as actors and actresses can be phenomenal, we can only look as good as the crew is, I'm a firm believer that the people behind the scenes do not get enough credit for how much they do to make films look so amazing. Derek on special effects, he's incredible with his special effects work. I love getting down and dirty. So whenever someone's like, oh, are you okay with fake blood? Let it rain. And for Late Checkout, Derek does that. If you ever want, just blood and gore everywhere, he's the man for that. But Late Checkout is gonna be one that I think for in the indie horror world, I think it's gonna be pleasantly surprising to a lot of people that love horror that don't necessarily watch a lot of indie films. I think that's one that could sneak up on everyone, and I'm super proud to have been a part of that, and I'm really hopeful to work with Josh and the cast and crew from that again. They were just, again, wonderful human beings, so super honored. But yeah, it's going to be astounding, and you're right that the stuff Josh does is phenomenal, so you're super, super right to be super excited for it.
I definitely am, and I'm definitely going to check out more of your stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I like to support indie horror, indie films, and everything. I'm all into that. I mean, I think indie films are actually on fire right now. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some good Hollywood films out there. But anyways, everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight, and everybody have a great evening.